And what's up, everybody? It's your host, Mike. I'm here hosting the latest episode of the Washington Wrestle Talk podcast. Um, it has been a very memorable week in some good ways and some bad ways. We'll start off with we've had some more passings in the world of professional wrestling this week. Earlier last Monday, legendary big man King Kong Bundy passed away at the age of 61. Most people may remember him as the opponent for Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 2. He headlined WrestleMania 2 with Hulk Hogan in a steel cage match. He also was involved in another infamous moment at WrestleMania 3 when he picked up and body slammed a midget wrestler by the name of Little Beaver. Get your hips out of the gutter, guys. And gave him a elbow drop. Bundy then disappeared after the 1987 Survivor Series, the very first one. And he wouldn't resurface in the WWF until 1994, when he served as part of the $1 Million Corporation, managed by Ted DiBiase. He was on the victorious Survivor Series team. He had a match with The Undertaker at WrestleMania 12 or 11. I think it was 11. And then he kind of, disappeared after that. He also was an actor he acted with Richard Pryor. He also had a recurring character on the TV show Married with Children as the relative of Peg Bundy. But King Kong Bundy, passes away at age 61 last Monday. And then a day or so later, the wrestling world lost another legend in Dick Beyer. Now, if the name Dick Beyer doesn't ring a bell, he was better known as the Destroyer. And he was more famous in Japan and in the upper Midwest regions than he was, but he was, pretty legendary. In fact, he had a match with Riki Dozan, who's considered the father of Japanese wrestling, that was watched by, over half the country of Japan when it aired in the 60s. It gathered a 70 plus rating, which is unheard of for a wrestling event. But granted, the Riki Dozan Lou Thez match had an 87.5 share, but there were less television sets in Japan at that time than there were when the Destroyer and Riki Dozan met. The Destroyer was a masked wrestler who his mask was actually made out of one of his wife's girdles, which I found to be really, really hilarious when I found that out. He also wrestled in the AWA as Dr. X, winning the AWA World's Heavyweight title. And, he retired. He's basically one of the more legendary gaijin wrestlers in Japan, right up there with guys like the Funk Brothers and Abdullah the Butcher and Bruiser Brody and Stan Hansen. And then yesterday we lost Wally Yamaguchi. Wally Yamaguchi is better known as the manager of Kaientai back during the Attitude Era, when Kaientai came into the WWF from Japan. He was probably involved in one of the more infamous angles on television when Val Venus, better known as Sean Morley, was hitting on his wife, who was played by, believe it or not, a 17-year-old model. But the skit was "I choppy choppy your pee pee," and Kaientai abducts him, ties him up in the locker room, and Yamaguchi has a samurai sword. And then when the lights go out, and the very next week, it's revealed that none other than John Wayne Bobbitt saved Val Venus. But Wally Yamaguchi passes away at the age of 60 yesterday. In other news, today is Fastlane. In fact, it starts here in about 25 minutes. I might either do a new episode or just add on to this one my reactions to it. Jim Ross has announced that he will be leaving the WWE once his contract expires the end of this month. I did not know that he was still under contract with the WWE. I haven't seen him on television, or I've seen him more on like the New Japan specials, in the United States and, other avenues, but that came as a shock to me. Also, it was announced that the Good Brothers, Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson, will not be renewing their contracts, and they will be leaving the WWE once their contract expires later this year. And I think that could be a good thing because they really haven't been utilized. They've only won one tag team title since they signed back in 2015, I believe. 2015 or 2016. They were a dominant tag team in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They won the IWGP Tag Team title 2 or 3 times. They were just, the dominating monster tag team. Of course, they were part of the Bullet Club, one of the first members of Bullet Club. And, it'd be interesting to see where they end up. They could end up in All Elite. They could end up back in Japan. But it remains to be seen where Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson will end up in the very near future. I didn't want to do that. Sorry, my mind is wandering here for a second. Yeah, I've just got so many things going on here that I'm doing. But like I said, today is Fastlane. Some marquee matchups. The Shield reunites for the first time in, since before Roman Reigns announced his leukemia diagnosis. Of course, if you didn't catch it on one of my previous episodes, he has been 2 weeks ago, he announced that he was in remission, and everything is good. Some debuts this week in NXT with some new signings. Jonah Rock, the big Australian, made his debut on a NXT house show, and also former Impact wrestler Trevor Lee, who signed with the company 2 or 3 months ago, made his debut at a live event in Florida. Luke Harper returned to action last night at a live event in Rochester. However, he was on the Raw brand, and the last time we saw him, he was on the SmackDown brand. So that should be, it'll be interesting to see where they end up, if they're going to reform the Bludgeon Brothers or if they're just going to stay the course with Rowan being the muscle for the new Daniel Bryan. Rey Mysterio is set to drive the pace car at the Auto Club 400 on St. Patrick's Day next Sunday. So, that'll give him some exposure, because it'll be televised on Fox. And I think the reason they're doing that is because SmackDown's getting ready to move to Fox here. It's either this year or next year. I think it is this year. Impact partners with TNT Pro Wrestling for Salute to the Troops. I think they're just trying to either rip off or cash in on the WWE success of Tribute to the Troops. Jushin Thunder Liger announced this week that he will retire from pro wrestling, with his last match being at Wrestle Kingdom in January. So they're doing a big Liger retirement tour. He had an incredible match with Taiji Ishimori for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight title, a title that Liger's held more times than anyone. I believe he's held it like 11 times. And of course, it was announced today, or not today, but on what is today? So 3 days ago, that would have been Saturday, Friday, Thursday. Sorry, I'm getting my days mixed up here. That Tampa Bay, Tampa, Florida, will host WrestleMania 36 at Raymond James Stadium in April of 2020. So that's, kind of, it's the first time I believe Tampa Bay or Tampa, Florida in general has ever hosted a WrestleMania. I do know that WrestleMania has been held in Orlando and Miami. They seem to be going with the, warm weather places, Phoenix, Dallas. They haven't held WrestleMania on the West Coast in I don't know how long. I believe the last one was Los Angeles. And yeah, so I believe Los Angeles was the last one. So it's kind of cool to see that Tampa Bay, a city other than Miami or Orlando, is hosting WrestleMania. Of course, WrestleMania this year will be from MetLife Stadium in New Jersey, in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Just a short hop and skip, from Newark, New Jersey, or from New York City. So it's going to be interesting to see. We do know one confirmed match, which is Lesnar versus Rollins. Right now, the rumored match is going to be Becky Lynch versus Charlotte Flair versus Ronda Rousey. Rousey actually made headlines this week when she posted a video saying that WWE is fake, it's scripted, and all the WWE universe are marks. Well, Cage Side Seats, a website, took an image of a picture of Rousey when she was doing this video and wanted people to make their best memes out of it. So it'll be interesting to see what kind of memes pop up on with this. It really isn't. You could see the writing on the wall, especially at the Staples Center. When they booed her. She's trying really hard. She loves and respects the business, which is admirable, which is better than some of the, crop of women's wrestlers who never stepped foot in a wrestling ring before, just fitness models or gymnasts. And that's not taking it away anything from, people like Casey Catanzaro, who is absolutely phenomenal. She's going to be something, her size, may hinder her, but she's absolutely fantastic to watch. If you don't believe me, watch her at the Royal Rumble this year. She probably performed one of the best elimination saves I've ever seen. And, I've seen quite a few of them. Kofi Kingston's, ranks right up there. Of course, speaking of Kofi, he was originally announced as being the challenger for Daniel Bryan's title at Fastlane tonight, but Kevin Owens made his return. He looks like he's slimmed down a little bit, and he's got some new ink on his arms. But Kevin Owens is now going to be facing Daniel Bryan, and there's been, call it what it is, call it what you will, rumors, scuttlebutt, whatever, that Sami Zayn may make his return tonight and cost Owens the match. So, we shall see what happens here at Fastlane in about 15 minutes. So I think I'm actually